Hi, I'm Chad Coker of Appletree Automotive. In this video, I'm going to give you some examples of VW clutch discs, let you see the differences between the years, makes, models, and the things that make them unique that would ultimately stop your project if you mistakenly get the incorrect stuff. Starting out over here, this is an early style swing axle, and you can tell this by the ring in the center. Now this ring mates up to your throwout bearing. This is actually helps it center in the middle, so it doesn't put an uneven load on the diaphragm fingers. Now you may notice, depending on how old the clutch pressure plate setup that you have in your car is, this is a diaphragm style, so you're going to see a lot of little fingers instead of 3 big fingers holding that in. Nothing different between the two. They all have the same kind of seat pressure, but this is just an updated, little bit nicer style. Now the other thing that you can look at that will help you identify what you have is going to be the throwout bearing. In the early style, the clips are actually separate. So these clips are going to snap into the throwout bearing and then snap into the throwout fork. Now the next one's going to be the late style IRS. As you see, this one does not have a ring in the center of it. The reason for that is because the late style actually uses this 3-bolt collar that you're going to see inside the bell housing after you separate the motor. So first pull the motor apart, take it off the transmission, look inside your bell housing and see if you've got this 3-bolt collar. And then look at your pressure plate to identify the ring or no ring. The reason for this is actually the throwout bearing will glide back and forth on this. This is the centering. This will actually index itself right in the center of this pressure plate. Now you can tell on this late style that the clips are actually built into this. So that makes it a nice setup. You slide it on the 3-bolt shaft and you snap these little metal hooks into the throwout arm. Now one of the confusing things about sand rails and even VW Beetles is just because you've got a swing axle or just because you have an IRS does not necessarily mean you have one or the other on these. Strictly, this is what it is from the factory, minus a couple years with the IRS. It actually had the swing axle plate. So from about 66 to 68, you could have really went either way with these pressure plates. But over time, when people replace, change, and made different transmissions to different motors, these can get switched. So you may have an IRS that actually uses a swing axle clutch and pressure plate. So it's really important after you pull the motor out to identify what you have exactly before you call. Don't take for granted that you have a swing axle. Very important. Now if you happen to have this collar in here, the early style swing axle will not work. It will not go in. This will actually hit against that. It will cause all kind of binding issues, and you probably won't be able to mate the transmission back up to the motor. So if you have any trouble squeezing that thing back together, that is probably why. Now the last thing that we've got here is a high performance pressure plate. Now these come in different pressures, so you can get 1700, 2100, all the way up to 4000 seat pressure. So you can really tune it to your driving, your motor, and how you want this thing to perform. Now obviously the tighter that thing seats, the less slippage of the clutch you're going to have. So if you've got weak components anywhere else, this will actually cause them to break. So you're not going to want to overdo this, and it makes for a very aggressive takeoff and slow down. Now one of the unique things about this performance kit is this centering ring that we would see normally on the swing axle. And this is how it would be out of the box. Actually, it has a clip in the back that if you get a hold of that clip and spin it out, and just give it a good spin, and it'll come right out from the teeth, actually drops out the ring. Now it's set up for the late style, so you can use your late style clutch and pressure plate, and it'll go on the transmissions with this collar. Now, the early swing axle ones do not have that option, so don't buy that and expect to be able to take that centering ring out of this. This is in here. Now I'm going to move on to clutch discs real quick. This is a full circle ceramic clutch disc. We've got a large variety of different clutch discs, and they're all going to be tuned to how you drive again and how you want this thing to react. This one's a rigid style. You'll see there's no springs in the center. If your clutch disc has springs in the center, that was intended for street use, and it will give it a little bit of twist when it locks up and gives it a little bit of dampening. This rigid one doesn't have that dampening, but we don't usually see that to be a problem in the sand or even on the street. Now this particular one right here is a 200 millimeter. Now all these pressure plates I'm showing you right now are all 200 millimeter. Now early VW had 180 millimeters, so you want to make sure first of all that you've actually got a 200 millimeter. Now if you've got an IRS, you're not going to see that to be a problem, but if you're dealing with a swing axle, you may want to get your measurement on that pressure plate, and the area you're going to want to measure is straight across and get that diameter. That's going to be important. Now your clutch disc is also going to be 200 millimeter or 180 millimeter, and again, once you have the measurement, this is an easy decision to make. We've got different styles of clutch that are aggressive on the padding, a little bit softer on the padding, depending on how you want them to hook up and how they're going to wear over time. So this particular one is just stock. It's going to have a normal grip, and it's going to last a good amount of time. We've got some cush lock ones that give you a little bit softer hook. Now the other style is what we call a puck disc. You see in this puck, it's only got the ceramic padding on 4 different little arms here. Now this is available in 6 puck and also in 3 puck. Now when you start dealing with a puck clutch, the fewer puck arms you got on there, the more aggressive that this is going to be. And I don't really recommend this for anybody unless you're drag racing or doing some type of racing activity that you're really not worrying about the clutch slipping, because these are really an on or off kind of clutch disc. So the normal one we're going to put in is going to be the full circle ceramic disc. Now if you need help with all these components, you're welcome to call. We can walk you through them to help you identify what you have. The other thing we've already done for you is we've created kits for these. So when you get a kit, it's matched components. It's going to be your pressure plate, your clutch disc, going to have the right throwout bearing and clips in them. Same thing for the performance one. You just have to tell us what pressure you want that to be. We'll make the kit whatever you want. Tell us your pressure, seat pressure you want to see on that, and we'll get you the kit. So we've made that really simple for you to figure out which one you have. Now also keep in mind that there's some bus flywheels and pressure plates that are even bigger than 200 millimeters. We very rarely see them, but know that they're out there. So if you pull a dimension that's 228 or bigger, know that that's a bus, and you're not going to be able to use these. But we can get you the right stuff